little bit about how the environment functions. So what is ecology? The ecology is the study of all living organisms on the planet and how they interact with one another, and also how they interact with the environment, because they will need the environment for food, for water, for shelter. So it's a total interaction between living things and the planet. Ecosystems are just a specific area and the things that live there and the actual area itself. So some examples of ecosystems would be like a desert, a forest, marine or ocean, freshwater. Those are all very different environments. The environment themselves is different, and the organisms that live there are very unique too. So they're all kind of specific to a certain area. Here's just some examples of some different ecosystems. You can tell that the four of these are very different in just their look and also what's going to live in that environment. So really we have two parts of an ecosystem. We have the biotic factors, which means the living parts, and the abiotic factors, which means the non-living parts. So those two things are going to have to function together in order for the ecosystem to remain healthy. And the thing we kind of have to remember here is that everything is connected to everything else. Like, you can't just eliminate an organism in the ecosystem, and you can't just add an organism into the ecosystem either. It's all going to be interconnected. If you add something else, it's going to affect everything else. Like here in Michigan, we have a problem with a lot of species coming from other places, like zebra mussels, the emerald ash borer, where they're not native to Michigan. And when they come here, they have no natural predators. So they just keep reproducing and reproducing and wreaking havoc and, killing our native species. And we can't get rid of them because they're not native here. They don't have predators. So it's not good for an ecosystem to introduce something or to eliminate something from the ecosystem either. It kind of has a fine balance. So here's ecological organization. We're going to go from just one individual, and we're going to go up the ladder and go to a larger component. Then we go to a population. Population would be like humans. We're one type of living thing, we'd be a population. It's a group of the same type of organism. So it would be just one specific group. If you were just talking about black bears in the forest, that'd be a population. Community is when you bring in other populations. So if you're talking about a forest, you might say, we got the black bears, the squirrels, the oak trees. It'd be all of those interacting things would be a community. But we're still only talking about the living parts. The next part, we're getting larger here, are the ecosystems. Ecosystem also involves the non-living parts of the environment. So you have all the living parts. If we're talking about a forest, you have all the living parts, but now you're talking the non-living stuff too. Like, what's the temperature like? What's the soil like? Does it get a lot of rainfall? All of those things affect what can live there. So it's very important, even though it's not living. Then we go to the biosphere. Biosphere is really the planet itself. It's how all the ecosystems interact and affect each other. So we've gone from organism, real small, up to the entire planet. Just showing an illustration of this, where you go from one individual to a population, to a community, to the ecosystem, to the biosphere up here. They also included biome, which is similar to ecosystem. The term habitat refers to just where an organism lives, and then niche is kind of its role in the environment. It's what it eats, where it lives. It's just like its specific role that it takes on in the environment. And all living things should really have their own specific niche so that there isn't so much competition between them, and they all kind of seek out their own role. And if we do have a lot of competition, it can lead to one species becoming extinct because they're not well suited to adapt to that environment. And that concludes our discussion about ecology and the environment.